Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Jessica Livingston. I am the executive director of the U.S. Jet Alumni Association. I was an ALT in Hokkaido from 2003 to 2006, so a really long time ago now. I was a Jet program coordinator at the Japanese consulate in Denver from 2006 to 2013. US Jet AA, the organization I'm here with, we're a nonprofit organization, and our mission is just strengthening US-Japan relations through providing opportunities and support to our very extensive alumni network, which is now over 40,000 people just here in the United States. And for all of us alumni and folks that are here tonight, the JET experience was life-altering for most of us. So we really want to encourage others to take that plunge as well, and hence hosting this virtual info session for everyone. I'd also like to recognize Valerie Stewart from our sister organization, Jet AA USA, and she's going to be moderating our alumni panel discussion. And we also have Devin Altman, who is one of 3 JET program coordinators who oversees the program at the Embassy of Japan in Washington, D.C. And so both Jet AA USA and the JET office at the Embassy of Japan, their engagement this evening really helps make this more impactful and actually much more informative for all of you. So just to let you know what's going to happen, we're going to start off with a brief presentation from our very dedicated JET program coordinator, Devin. And then we're going to move to the panel talk with JET alumni, which is going to be moderated and led by Valerie. And then we're going to all be introduced to Jet Prep, which is a nonprofit that was founded by a Jet alumni. And the whole purpose is to help aspiring Jets gain more clarity on their journey into the program. And after that, we're going to have breakout rooms, so you all have the opportunity to get as many of your questions answered as possible. And then we'll all come back to the main lobby here to close out the evening. We do have a really large crowd tonight, which is awesome. So we're going to do our best to answer as many of your questions as possible, either in the chat or during the breakout Q&A session. But if you leave with outstanding questions, please know that we offer office hours for aspiring Jets. We host these each year leading up to the application deadline. We typically host one a week for about 4 weeks. These are unstructured 1-hour time blocks for the sole purpose of answering questions from Jet applicants and prospective Jets. We often have at least one Jet program coordinator. Sorry, I just lost my spot here. We usually have one JET program coordinator and a couple alumni on with us. And so the whole point is just to answer your questions. So with that, I am going to hand it off to Devin so that she can just share all of the wisdom she has about the JET program application system and process. Yoroshiku, Devin.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Hello, everyone. My name is Devin, and I am a JET program coordinator at the Embassy of Japan in Washington, D.C., and my office oversees the JET program application. So tonight, I'll give a little bit of an introduction to the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, and I'll also cover some application tips and tricks and kind of talk about what we're looking for in our JET program candidates. So thank you so much for joining us. Before I get started, I will say that I was a JET program alumni as well. I was in Chiba Prefecture from 2018 to 2023, and it was an incredible experience. So I am very, very happy to share a little bit more about the program and kind of further explain why it is so important to not only the people here this evening, but also to our very expansive JET program community around the world. All right, so first and foremost, what is the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program? So this is a international and educational exchange initiative that is administered by the Japanese government. And it's also one of the world's largest people-to-people exchange programs. We have around 80,000 alumni globally, and every year we send 2,000 participants from around the world to Japan as part of the program, and the United States participants make up half of that total. And this isn't a summer program. This isn't a study abroad opportunity. It's a professional full-time job, and it's a chance for you to live and work in Japan for at least 1 year. and then you can keep recontracting up to 5 years on the program. And what's really awesome about this program is that it promotes international and cultural exchange between our participants from all around the world. We have over 50 participating countries on the program, having them exchange their culture and their background with people in Japan. And for our participants from JET Program USA, they get to operate as US ambassadors, where they get to share themselves and then also their culture with those living in Japan through the work that they do. So we have two positions that are available on the program. Our most popular position that you might have heard of is the ALT, also known as Assistant Language Teacher. And these individuals are going to be working in the Japanese education system. They're going to be teaching English as a second language. So they can be in elementary schools, they can be in junior high schools, they can be in high schools. They're going to be in the classroom, but they're also going to be around the school, maybe helping out with festivals and extracurricular activities. And their job is to motivate the students because English is actually a core subject in Japan. And there's an importance to learning it as a second language. And so we want to make sure that English is fun, but we also want to get native level English speakers in the classroom to help them be successful and to further develop their English skills. The other position we have, which is about 10% of our participants do in Japan, is the Coordinator for International Relations, otherwise known as CIR. And these individuals, they are going to be working with local government offices, maybe prefectural offices, doing a variety of different things. It kind of depends on the need of their contracting organization. They can be doing translation and interpretation work, helping with tourism, promoting their local area, or they could be kind of developing cultural exchange programming. And also, our CIRs can also be in the classroom as well, teaching English, or in the community teaching adult English classes. And so both of these positions are available. I will say though, for the CIR, because of the nature of the job, where you'll be using Japanese in everyday conversation with your colleagues and also in the publications and emails that you prepare and send, you will need a strong Japanese language proficiency. So for the Japanese language placement test, we're looking at a N1, N2 equivalent for this role, where for the ALT position, you do not need to have a prior command of the Japanese language or prior study of the Japanese language to apply. All right, so next I want to talk a little bit about contracts on the JET program and what recontracting looks like. So with our JET program participants, they are employed directly by contracting organizations, which can be cities or towns or school boards in Japan. And our participants operate as civil servants, and they can have a minimum of a 12-month contract period. So when they get to Japan, they'll be working as an ALT or a CIR for 1 year, and they have the option to extend their contract year by year for up to 5 years. So maybe your initial plan is you get to Japan and you're thinking you'll be there for 1 year or 2 years, and then you realize you love your placement, you love what you're doing, and you get a lot of enjoyment out of it. You don't have to worry if it goes against your initial plan. You can keep recontracting. And what's nice is you get to check in at the end of every contract period to kind of assess if you'd like to continue with the program or move on to the next step in your career. And then next is some placement information. So I know that everyone is always very curious about how our JET program participants are placed within Japan. We have participants that are in all prefectures from all the way in Hokkaido all the way down to Okinawa. But I will say that most of our jets are placed in small cities or towns. And then we do have jets that are placed in large urban areas and big cities, but is a little less common because Japan is more rural overall from prefecture to prefecture. But you do get to request up to 3 locations in your application. So if there's some place you're really interested in, whether it be a town, a prefecture, or a region, you can indicate that on your application. And we do our best to make sure you're matched with one of your placements preferences. But if you are kind of going for more popular areas, such as Tokyo or Kyoto, just keep in mind that a lot of our participants are looking to be placed in those areas, and we do have more role opportunities available. So definitely do your research, but don't fret because Japan is beautiful. Prefecture to prefecture has so much to offer. So wherever you'll get placed, you'll get to experience Japan in a very unique and meaningful way. And the last thing I'll say is that we do have around 6,000 participants currently living and working in Japan. So there is also an expansive JET community when you get to Japan, in addition to the communities that you will build in your local area. Eligibility criteria is another thing to note. Since we are JET Program USA, we need our participants to hold US citizenship. The reason for that is because it's tied to the instructor visa or the specialist visa for our ALTs and our CIRs. If you don't hold US citizenship, do not worry. We have over 50 participating countries, and you just need to apply through the embassy of your home country to go to the JET program. If you have two citizenships, you're dual national, you can pick which country you'd like to apply through. Another item for eligibility criteria is that you must hold a bachelor's degree by the time of departure. So let's say you're looking to apply for the 2027 program, which means you depart for Japan in the summer or spring of 2027. You don't need a bachelor's degree at the time of application, but you do need to have it conferred by the time that you leave for Japan. Again, this is an item that is tied to the Japan work visa, so something to keep in mind if you're going to be a senior next year, you can still apply and then just show proof of graduation before you depart. Last, I'd like to highlight that, of course, for our ALT candidates, you're going to be in the classroom, you're going to be teaching English as a second language. So, of course, excellent written and verbal English skills are a must. And for our CIRs, a reminder that you need to have a strong command of the Japanese language to apply for that role based on the work duties that it entails. Oops. So, I want to clear the air on some common misconceptions about our program. I see them online sometimes, and we get inquiries as well. So, first and foremost, I just want to say that there is no age limit to apply to the program. You can apply at any age and at any stage in life. It could be right after university, it could be after um, years within the years into your career. And so, your timeline, we're not looking for someone with a specific timeline. You don't have to match it. We accept individuals from all different types of backgrounds and career paths. Another common misconception is that you have to have a degree in teaching English or Japanese. You do not. We welcome people from all academic backgrounds, and we have a lot of JETs that are doing a variety of different things before they apply to the program and get to Japan. Next is placement preferences can impact your chances. So this is a common one I see. A lot of JET applicants, when they're filling out their application, they realize that they think that they have to put a specific rule placement in order to get to the program, in order to increase their chances. Don't worry when you're filling out those placements. Fill it out how you want to, fill it out in the way that you are hoping to go to the region that you are excited for, because those placements actually come later after our participants have already gotten into the program. All right. So, in terms of the application itself, what are we looking for? So our program recruits from a variety of cultural, personal, and academic backgrounds. And there's a lot of ways to highlight yourself and what you can bring to the table through our application. And some relevant experiences that you can showcase in your application include teaching, whether it be professional, like in the classroom experience or volunteering, tutoring experience, involvement in Japanese or intercultural um, activities, international exchange initiatives, whether you have work experience, volunteer experience, all of these things tie together to make your application. So we do have a way for you to highlight all these different things, and we aren't just looking for one type of person or one specific thing. And so just make sure that you're able to showcase all components and aspects of yourself as you move through the application process. What we found makes very successful jets, and what we found are kind of traits that help our current participants kind of succeed and grow on the program are these following um, items: adaptability, patience, and flexibility. You're moving to a new country, and with that comes navigating a new language, navigating a new culture, a new work environment. And so our jets that have these virtues, they do very well, and they tend to grow and kind of embrace all the new that's around them. A positive attitude and a sense of humor also contribute to that. And we found that our jets that kind of approach their work with creativity and initiative and a passion for education and cross-cultural exchange get a lot out of the program and then give a lot to the program as well. And of course, we're always looking for individuals that have that interest in Japan and Japanese culture. And it goes along well with the work that you do, um, kind of learning more about the language and learning more about the community, the traditions of your town. You'll get more out of it. And then there'll also be that exchange where, as you're learning more, you get to share more about yourself and about where you come from. Some helpful application tips from my office. Of course, first and foremost, reading instructions carefully and ensuring that all of the information and documents that you send to our office are clear and legible. All of these application tips are on our website at jetprogramusa.org. So I highly recommend going there for more information. That's all there, and we are happy to also answer any inquiries and questions you have when it comes time for the application to open later this year. And to round out the presentation, I'd like to say that although our application for 2027 departures to Japan has not opened quite yet, there is a sign up that you can do to get a notification via email when the application does open later this year. So you can sign up at jetapplication.com. We also have this QR code that you can scan. You just need to put in your name and your email. And if something happens, like we go live, you won't miss it. So I highly recommend taking the time to do that. And again, if you have any questions, my office is always here to help, and we can assist via email or call.
Thank you so much, Devin. I know there's so much that goes into preparing for this program and hosting it and doing all of the stuff that we can't see in the background. So I appreciate you going through just kind of some of the tips um, that you see would be helpful from the JET program coordinator's perspective. Um, and you're like right on time. It's amazing. You're very Japanese, Devin. Okay, so next, we're going to turn it over to Valerie, and we have three lovely and wonderful JET alumni here who are just going to share their experiences so you can kind of get a feeling as to, just kind of get a little bit of an insider view. So Valerie, I'm going to hand it over to you and have you just kind of run the introductions and the whole panel part.
Thank you so much, Jessica. So right now we're going to start the panel. And I'll introduce myself first. I'm Valerie Stewart. I was an ALT in Saga Prefecture, 1999 to 2002. So I was in the small towns of Genkai Town and Karatsu City, really small, and really rural towns. And I taught elementary, junior high school, and 1 year in high school. So I want all the panelists to introduce themselves. Just tell us where you were placed. Was it a rural or urban placement, and what years you taught? So we'll start with Mateus. Could you introduce yourself?
He- Hello. So my name is Mateus. I was an ALT in northern Kyoto Prefecture in a tiny little town called Yosano. And so really rural placement. And I was teaching at elementary and middle school levels. I had several elementary schools and one middle school.
Okay. Thank you. Mac, how about you?
Oh, sorry,
Oh, sorry.
I was there from 2019 to 2020. Forgot to say that.
Perfect. Mac, how about you? Could you
Yeah,
introduce yourself?
absolutely. Hi, my name is Matt Gill. I was a CIR in Kochi Prefecture from 2021 to 2023. It was in the small town of Nahari, on the eastern side of Kochi. Very rural as well, 2,500 people in town on a good day. I did a little bit of everything. I taught English from kindergarten up through adult A Kiowa classes. No high school though, because there were no high schools there. The closest one was about 20 minutes away by train, so all the kids had to commute. Um, Unfortunately for them. I worked on the town's tourism board. I worked with the social welfare center, so serving the older population. I participated in a lot of different school activities, um, did just general office stuff in the Board of Education. So yeah, a lot of everything.
Thank you. And Bethany, where were you on Jet?
Hi everyone, my name is Bethany Brahanu. I was an ALT also in Kochi Prefecture, but I just missed MAC. I was from 2023 to 2025. I was also in a small city, technically called Aki City, but it was very rural, maybe 15,000 people, so not very big. Yeah.
Thank you. So now we'll just ask about some of the things that you did. What were some of your community activities or hobbies that you were engaged in? And also, what are you doing now? So, Bethany, can you start?
Sure. I also forgot to mention I did elementary and middle school. So I had about four elementary schools, one middle school. And in terms of community activities, I was a part of my town's local taiko Japanese drumming group. It was a very small local group. The average age was about 65. So I was definitely one of the youngest people there. It was really fun though. And I also joined my local city hall's Yosakoi team, which is a traditional Kochi dance and summer festival. And in terms of what I'm doing now I work as a college counselor at a high school here in Texas, and I joined my local JET alumni chapter, so I do some events with them. And I also joined a Japanese language conversation group when I came back to keep my language skills up.
Thank you. Um, Mateus, what about you? What are you doing now? And what hobbies were you involved in while you were in on Jet?
Yeah, so while there, myself and the other ALTs that were in the region, we got to participate in hosting a um, monthly television show for the local community. And this was a TV show where we would be teaching English, um, and kind of go to different businesses around town and introduce them and talk about the relevant vocabulary for that business. And so we would go to a vineyard or we would go to like the local park and um, do different things like that. And also local English classes that we would do for the senior citizens of the town. So that was really fun. Now I am working as a software engineer, living in Salt Lake City, Utah, and also helping with the local subchapter, the Utah subchapter of the Jet Alumni Association.
Okay, thank you. And Mac, what about you? What were you involved in? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So yeah, again, I was involved in a lot of different stuff. Eastern Kochi, the area that I was in, Chugay, had a jet group, so we would meet monthly, and we did bi-monthly bilingual like little newsletters for students. So we'd have a different theme for each issue. Sometimes it was, about Kochi or about our favorite holidays, things like that, combining, our introducing ourselves and our cultures as JET participants to the students, as well as, tying that into things that they were already familiar with. Personally, a couple friends and I did a lot of camping. There's a lot of really good camping spots around in Kochi, especially. Um, I was also part of the my town's Tai Chi group, where again the average age was about 65, so I was definitely the youngest person there, which was fine. It was very chill. It was very nice. Now I'm in Minnesota. I'm in the Twin Cities. I do a lot of different things. I'm a freelance Japanese to English translator. I am the project manager for the Digital Museum of the History of Japanese in New York, and I do overhire carpentry for a local theater here. So a lot of different
Lo-
stuff.
Love that. Thank you so much. So now we're just going to get in a little bit more about why you did JET. So this first question, why did you decide to apply to the JET program and what influenced your decision? And the first question, will go to Mac.
Yeah. So I mean, I started learning Japanese when I was in middle school, so now it's about 16 years of Japanese. So I really wanted to be in a position and a role where I would be using my Japanese. I've spent over half my life at this point learning this language. I would really like to use it, and I really wanted the opportunity to live and work in Japan. While I didn't end up staying there, one of the easiest ways to get a job in Japan is to already have a job in Japan, especially in terms of networking and just, having a visa over there is a lot easier to switch than just going in without a visa. Um, and it also really opened up a lot of paths. I knew it would open up a lot of paths for future work in positions related to Japan. So.
Thank you. Bethany, what about you? What made you decide to apply for the JET program?
So my interest in Japan started when I was younger. I got introduced to Ghibli movies. That's kind of my into Japan. I'm sure for a lot of people similarly. But then when I went to college, I realized I could take a language other than Spanish or French, and I decided to take Japanese because I was already kind of interested in the culture. I liked the classes so much. I loved my department so much that I ended up majoring in Asian studies and studying abroad for 1 semester in Tokyo. And I had heard from a lot of my senpais in the program that they had done JET or they were planning on doing JET. So it was kind of in my head about this program when I was in school. And I decided that sounds like a good plan to do after graduating. I was already interested in education. I did some mentoring and tutoring. So I thought it was a good combo of education and Japanese. And I graduated 2020, so it was COVID. I had applied, things were wonky. I decided to postpone and like withdraw my application. And then a few years later, I realized I still really wanted to go back to Japan. So I applied 2022, got in 2023.
Thank you. And Mateus, what about you?
So, like Bethany, I got interested in Japan from a really young age. I grew up actually in São Paulo, Brazil, and there are so many Japanese people there. It's like the largest um, like concentration of Japanese people outside of Japan. So I grew up kind of exposed to the culture a lot. My dad was really passionate about Japanese culture. Um, when I was, 7, 8 years old, I was watching Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, so I was really into that side of things as well. And then growing up, I always had that interest in going to Japan, visiting. And in college, a friend of mine told me about the JET program and kind of how that was something that she wanted to do in the future. And so then I looked into it some more, watched YouTube videos, got into YouTubers who were Jets. And then I decided that if it was something I really wanted to do, I should go to Japan first and see if I actually liked the place. And so I took the opportunity to go on a study abroad while I was in college, visited Japan. I decided I really did like it. So came back, I had that as my goal. And then, um, yeah, and then after graduation, actually, I told my girlfriend at the time, like, hey, I have this goal of going to Japan to teach English. If you'd like to come with me, we can get married. So then we did, and we did jet together.
Wonderful. I love everyone's stories of what path drew them to the JET program, and I'll share mine really briefly. I studied abroad in college. wasn't really grew up loving, knew, I didn't really think anything about Japan, but I took the language in high school, studied it in college, studied abroad. While I was in Japan, I decided I want to experience everything. Went to an Erykah Badu concert. While we were hanging around backstage, got the chance to meet Erica. While we were waiting to meet Erica Badu, we met this lady. And she just came up to us and was like, "Why are you here?" And we are like, "Why are you here?" Because it was myself and four other college students. And so we were all just randomly, this is 1998, you see a group of four black women together, you're like, what are you doing here? So we were all in school, and we got to meet Erica Badu. But this woman, she was a JET program participant from Canada. So while we were talking, she was just like, you know what, y'all need to apply for JET. And we connected. I went to visit her. She lived in Totori. I thought her life was amazing. And so from then on, I'm like, I'm applying. Whatever, I'm getting on jet. So I got back from school, study abroad, applied, and I got in. So everyone's story is different. Um, so now let's get into the day-to-day roles. So like what was your typical day as either an ALT or CR? And I'll just start first. I'll talk about when I was in high school. The year I was in high school, every day really isn't typical, but I get up, I go to school. My desk wasn't in the teacher's room, it was actually in the library because the school was so big. So I was called off in the library with other teachers. I taught the second year students in the high school. So we had a lesson planned, and there was maybe 7 classes. And during the 2 days I was there, every day we taught the same class in all of them. I'd have lunch, then clean with the students, and then sometimes after school I'd practice with the band because I played flute, and then I just kind of go home. So that was my like high school day. But what about Mateus? What about you? How was your? I know every day isn't typical, but what was a day like when you were teaching?
Yeah. So I would start my day off at my middle school. Um, and, at the beginning of the week, I had a schedule for what schools I was going to be visiting that week. And I mentioned earlier, I had a number of elementary schools. And so typically I would have some classes at the middle school that I'd be helping with, and then I would drive over to one of the elementary schools and help out with their. It was actually fifth and sixth graders that I would teach at the elementary school, and then teach those, and then go back to the middle school. I always had lunch at the middle school, which was nice because if you're at a middle schools in Japan have middle schools and elementary schools, they have school lunch at the school, and so you get the opportunity, or at least I did, to eat lunch with the students, and so that was a lot of fun, just visiting different classes and eating with them, and having that kind of chill conversation time where you get to bond with the students. Um, and then afternoon classes between the middle school and the elementary schools again, and then um, finish my day around 4 or 5, and then head home and enjoy the rest of my evening.
Thank you. And Mac, how were the days as a CIR?
Yeah, so there was a lot of variety in my days. Largely because every day I was sort of somewhere else doing something different. Mondays I only worked a half day, because of how the contracts work out. You might have partial days one of the days out of the week, since you do have to stay under, I think it's 40 hours, 35, 40 hours a week. So my half days were Mondays. I liked that. I loved being able to sleep in on a Monday, and start at like 1 in the afternoon. Um, Wednesdays, I would go to the kindergarten, and do classes there, or English class there. It was a lot of like hands-on activities, working on the alphabet, drawing, doing crafts, things like that. Um, Other days, I would have one or two classes at the elementary school. An ALT came after like a 6 months after I started because I went during COVID, all of that stuff. So I did do junior high school to start. After that, it was just down to elementary, early elementary, and kindergarten and adult Eikaiwa. So I did first, second, and third grade. One day a week for each of those usually. They were never on the same day. Thankfully, in my town, the Board of Education was directly across from the elementary school, so I didn't have to go far. So doing that, some days at the social welfare center, some days volunteer working in the library, some days I was just in the Board of Education office doing office work, working on, prep for events or classes or things like that, getting ready for crafts with the kids, answering the phone when I was the only one in the office and taking messages. Um, yeah, so there wasn't really a typical day, I don't think.
I think you did some of everything there. And Bethany, what about you? How are your days on chat?
So mine was kind of similar to Matt, where I had multiple schools in one day, and I taught at four elementary schools, one junior high school. So I'd start off my day in the morning. I'd go to my city hall, which is where the Board of Education office. I was contracted by the BOE. I'd start my day there. I'd go to my desk, grab my textbooks and like teaching materials. I'd have a schedule of where I was going each week, like what schools, what classes I'd be teaching. So I just double check I didn't have anything changed because sometimes last minute changes. I'd grab my key from my city hall car because I had to drive to my school. So the city hall provided us with cars. So I did need a license. I know some of you may need licenses as well. Um, and then I'd drive to my first school. I'd meet with my homeroom teacher just to check in about what the lesson was going to be for the day. And then I'd also later on meet with that teacher to plan the future lessons. Our lesson plans were kind of from the textbook, but we could adjust it based on the class. Like some classes are smaller, like two or three kids, so we'd change the games. I'd bring all the game activities. I'd bring CDs. We still use CDs. And then have my classes in the morning. I'd eat lunch similarly to Matt, the kishoku. It was very delicious and very healthy. I hope you like rice because it's going to be a bowl of rice every day. And then I'd play with the kids outside or, I'll play with the kids during their break, then go to my next school and kind of do the same. And then I'd end my day back at the BOE. So I wasn't involved in really extracurriculars after school, but I did do an English conversation group twice a month with my city hall staff. So that was kind of like my little extracurricular.
Okay, thank you. So the next question, what types of valuable support groups and communities did you tap into while living in Japan? So we'll start with Mac.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, I was in the Tai Chi group. That was really nice. There were a lot of sort of like central members of the community in that group as well. So I got to know them, and that also led me into working on a couple different town events. And then, yeah, Chuge International Relations Group, which was the JET group in the area. We did the newsletter and a photo exhibit. And we would just sort of meet monthly. Initially, we weren't doing a whole lot because of COVID, but it was still nice just to be able to meet and to talk and have sort of that English language time opportunity, since it's very rural. So pretty much all of us, even the ALTs, had to, survive almost exclusively in Japanese. So having those English language connections was really great and a really good opportunity just to, you know, relax, vent a little bit, and just hang out without having to constantly process a foreign language. So,
Okay, thank you. Matt, what about you? What were some of the support groups you leaned on while you were in Japan?
For me, I think the biggest was just the local jet community. Um, we had, had some of, these people really became some of my best friends. We would hang out a lot and get together and have like dinner together. And there was like a lot of traveling together or like game nights. Um, and so they made it really easy to have that support. And I think if there was ever a hard time, there were other jets there that could also help. But also it helps that my wife was there with me. So that constant support was always there.
Thank you. And Bethany, what about you?
Something that I really liked and leaned on was the RA-PA system that the prefectures have. So RAs are regional advisors and PAs are prefectural advisors. And so the regional, like how Kochi was split up, it was split up into 5 or 6 regions. So your prefecture will also be split up into certain regions. And there were jets, like older jets, who were volunteered out of their own time to try and help settle the incoming jets. So my region was Akimuroto. We had one RA and he was in charge of like planning events for us. He planned our welcome party. He planned like movie nights, game nights. So similar to Matt, like that, he helped build that community in our local area. And it worked so well that I like met all my best friends during the welcome party and we instantly hit it off. So that's the RA. And then the PA is the prefectural advisor. So there's about 5 or 6 for the entire prefecture. And I was a PA my last year on JET. And what the PAs do is kind of provide like institutional support for JET. So if you're struggling with like mental health, if you're struggling out your work, like you're not getting along with your supervisor, you're not getting along with a coworker, you're having like issues with your apartment, kind of like bigger issues, you could come to the PA team and we would help mediate those conversations or provide resources. So every prefecture will have a PA. It depends on how each prefecture runs it. But those resources are available and they're very useful. So I would say definitely lean on those.
Yeah, I love all that. I'm still, believe it or not, 20, oh my gosh, 24 years later, I'm still connected to some people that some of the jet friends that I've made were still good friends. So this is the last question. What advice would you give to someone considering applying for the jet program? Bethany, you can start.
I would say think about your why really hard. I saw some questions about essays in the chat. So like that's a big part of the essay. It's a big part of that interview is think about why you want to do JET, why Japan, why teaching. Those are like a really big important questions for you to understand thoroughly for yourself first. And also I would say really think about JET in terms of like your career, like what do you want to do after? I feel like I forgot after a year. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna. I personally wasn't gonna stay in Japan for all 5 years. So I had to start thinking about even in my first year, like what am I gonna do after? What jobs am I interested in? How can I build my skills while I'm on jet so that I'm marketable back when I go back to the job market? It's rough out here, y'all. So just that's something really important to think about after jet. Yeah.
Thank you. And Matt, what last words of advice would you give?
I would say, if your primary exposure to Japan is through like media or whatever, um, go to the country yourself, and especially, leaving the places like Tokyo or Kyoto, visit like the countryside, see what that's like, so that you know what um, r real Japan is like. You're going to be under contract for at least a year. And the last thing you want is to have this idea of what Japan is in your head, and then you get there and it's completely different, and you're struggling from the get-go, and you're under contract for a year. So visit first, see what it's really like, and then I think from there you can decide if it's somewhere that you really want to stay in.
Thank you. Mac?
I think one thing that's important to have and understand and work on before you go is your own resiliency. Like it's gonna be hard and it's gonna suck sometimes. Like you're living in a foreign country, if you're in a very rural place, you might be operating in a completely foreign language like 24/7 and it's gonna be real hard. So work on ways that you can sort of bolster your own resiliency and your own confidence before you go so that you're not sort of just being thrown into all of this immediately. So do things that challenge yourself before you go. Work on things that you don't have a lot of confidence in. Um, work on asking for help from your support system, all of those things that can bolster your own resiliency for change and for dealing with difficult circumstances, because all of that is really going to come in necessary and handy once you're there.
Thank you. And I would say if I had to say anything, remember it's the Japan exchange in teaching programs. So it's not just about what you're going to get, but what you're going to give, and that you are an ambassador and you are representing your culture, your country. So don't forget that and remember that when you're applying. So I thank our panelists so much for taking their time out to share their love of the JET program and why it was so important to us. And I'd like to turn it back over to Jessica.
All right, great. Thanks, Valerie. I want to say thank you to Mateus and Mac and Bethany. Um, like all of us Jets, we have so many stories and we love to talk about them because it was such an informative and transformative period of our lives. So I really appreciate you all sharing your experiences that you had while you were there. I know it's really insightful. So each of you, actually, Valerie, Mateus, Mac, and Bethany, you guys all touched on some really important things in that final question that Valerie asked, which is, what advice you would give to somebody going on the JET program. And Bethany, you mentioned knowing what your why is. And Mateus, you talked about actually visiting Japan. And Mac, you talked about kind of resiliency. And Valerie, you talked about giving back and being an ambassador. And so I wanted to invite another JET alum that we have on our call with us today. Her name is Marty. And I'm going to add her as a spotlight here. Here we go. Marty's here. So she has started a nonprofit called Positive Global Learning, and a portion of it is dedicated to helping JET alumni, or not JET alumni, but prospective JETs, sort of do all of this soul searching to get ready to go on the JET program. So Marty, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can do a much better job explaining what you do than I do, and then we'll go after. I'll hop back in after you're done.
All right. So hopefully you can see my screen over here. Can everybody see my screen? All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for our presenters today as well. They had some great ideas out there, and you're probably wondering, okay, what's the next step? You gave us all this inspiration. What do we do next? So that's where we come in. My name is Marty. I was a JET from 2004 to 2009 up in Aomori. And as Valerie was talking about keeping friends, Stephen actually was up there with me. He is part of JET Prep. I did elementary, junior high, high school, agriculture college, Kaiwas, and I was a prefectural advisor for those final 2 years as well. So it is a life-changing experience. And with that, I couldn't get away from the JET community. They're amazing. Look at these amazing people here. You don't want to get away from it. It is ingrained in you. And with that, I created Positive Global Learning, as we are a nonprofit organization, and we created JET Prep. So some of you may have seen a survey going out. We surveyed over 140 aspiring, current, and alumni JETs, and they all said something similar. There's some things that they said, you know what, we wish we had a little bit more of in order to feel more prepared for this experience, to gain more confidence as we move forward. So that's what we started to create. What you heard today is what a lot of them said, right? Talk about your why, clarify it. What comes after that, right? We need confidence and resilience. They matter for the application, for the interviews, for when you get in Japan. Because just as Mac was saying, there's highs and lows. It's life, right? When you go to Japan, it doesn't change. It's not just the honeymoon period, right? We continue to go through life. And how do we adjust to that? How do we maintain our flexibility? Get experience before you go. We took that in mind, Matea. So we decided, if you can't do study abroad, we've created travel programs for you as well with those in mind, so you can get into the school system. So you had all these ideas. There's different perspectives, which is great from hearing from JET alums, but you're kind of like, what's the next step? How do I prepare for that? I know what you're saying, what I need to do. How do I do that? So before we go into that, I want to see a raise of hand. Who here has enjoyed the session so far? And this could be the speakers too. All right, who here has learned something so far? Yeah, I love it. Now this is called my thermometer. So this is like, I'm kind of looking at Jed. I'm not really sure. Okay, yes, I'm liking it in the next couple of years. I'm definitely going to play. I'm all in. Get me on the plane tomorrow. Let me see your thermometers, where you're at in there. Okay, now this is also how confident do you feel in that statement of purpose and clarifying your why you want to go to Japan? This is not confident at all. Let's do your thermometers. These can be for our speakers too, right? How confident were you before you applied, right? Let's go into the next one. How about team teaching? How confident are you in team teaching? This is not confident. This is a little bit confident. This is, oh yeah. Okay, we've got a variety here. Okay, we've got a variety. What about how confident are you going over there and dealing with some of those challenges when you're in Japan? This is, okay, not so confident. I think I'm pretty confident. Okay, confident. All right, and some people, even 2 thumbs up. I love it. Now, who would feel even more confident, more supportive if they had support through this whole process from applications to interviews? Oh, and 2 thumbs up. I love it because that is what we are here for. We are here for you. You don't have to do this alone. One of our participants in the interview accelerator said, you know what the best part of this program is that I realized I'm not alone. There's people that have been there. They can guide me through this process. They talk about their roadmap. They've already made their way through the forest, right? And they're saying, this is how we did it. Take what works for you, create your own path. That gave them confidence in it. And he also realized, hey, there's other people here beside me that are with me. So you've got a supportive community of alumni, of current Jets, and of Jets that are going through this experience with you. So we created this. It's a guided next step for you to build confidence before you arrive, practice communicating your story, learn how to navigate those real classroom dynamics, right, in Japan, because they're actually very special as compared to over here. I've done both education systems as well. You're going to reflect on your purpose and goals and stay connected to this supportive community. So you're probably like, okay, Marty, I get it. What is this really, right? How is it different than today? Well, today is a great intro, right? It's like the step into the door that says, here are these skills that you need. And then you come to Jet Prep and you help develop them. You find that confidence, you find that clarity. We start off with guided modules online. Who here has done asynchronous work online? All right, yep, you guys already know, right? We start off with some videos online that goes into reflections and activities. Because Mateus was saying, yeah, I looked at some YouTube before. That's great, but now how does that relate to your life? That's what those activities and those reflections are for. So you take a moment to sit back because we don't often do that, right? Often it's kind of like, okay, I'm just a passive learner. Show me the video, move on to next. We're going to tie it into your life and how you want to show up in Japan on the JET program, how you want to show and describe your strengths and your skill sets in that application. Because Devin did a great job of this is what they're looking for. A lot of you already have some of those skill sets, but we're going to help you describe them, define them, and put them out so you can put your best foot forward. So we have online modules, we have live sessions. So who here enjoyed today's session so far? Yeah, that's me. And so our sessions, we do have these live panels as well. Our programs last from a month to a couple months. So you're going to have multiple opportunities to hear from different perspectives, different current Jets. Most of our participants the people that work with our sessions are current Jets, but we do have some alumni as well. They're in there. They're going to talk to you. We're going to focus on different themes for each of the sessions. Then afterwards, we go into breakout rooms just like today, but there we're going to focus on your skills. So maybe that's answering a couple of those interview questions. Maybe it's role playing different cross-cultural situations or dynamics. Maybe it's working on lesson planning or your warm-up so you can get some skills for your backpack for when you go to Japan or you are even applying. So we do have those, and we have that community that grows with you. So we start off right now, we're actually in Jet Prep Essentials. That is building your confidence in team teaching, cross-cultural communication, and preparing with that support. So you understand even more of what the ALT role is, how you fit in it, building confidence for those first few days when you're in Japan. And this is great for the application. I think you guys are the early adopters. A lot of people wait until fall and they're like, oh yeah, JET program. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to apply for that. But you guys are early, so you can build your mountain peaks. You're going to hear a lot about that, right? You want to build your mountain peaks so you have the best application for you possible, right? So that you understand what you're getting into. And that means that you could describe the skills that you would put forward. You could describe your why even better. So Jet Prep Essentials is going on now. That goes all the way every 2 weeks. We have live sessions. We have 43 online modules, live sessions all the way until July. So if you're interested, check that out. You can check out my QR code over here. Then in the fall, we're going to have a Statement of Purpose Accelerator. You guys were asking for it. So we have 4 weeks of live sessions as well as 30 plus online modules or lessons in order for you to develop your why. We're going to have people look over your applications as well so that you make sure that you are confident and clear in your purpose, in your why going forward. Why do you want to go to Japan in the JET program? Let's talk about it. We're going to hear it. We're going to talk to each other about it as well. Then we have Interview Accelerator. And that is where we're going to have some mock interviews for you. Who here has gone to an interview and like, woo, oh my goodness, I need some help. I need people to listen to me, right? All of us, even now, I'm still like, please, any interview. I would love people that are there with me, that have been there, that can continue to give me support. So we have Interview Accelerator coming up in January as well. And for those of you that are like, I want to go to Japan early, I want to see it. Maybe you can go on study abroad, maybe you can't. Even if you do, we have programs for you where you can go in, learn language, culture, and go into the education system, go into the junior highs, the high schools, the yochiens. Go in, you can see team teaching in action, and you can go in and present a lesson. So how great is that for applications, as well as for your interview and even your first days in Japan? It's not like, well, this is all new. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. You've already had that experience. You've already had that exposure. So that is coming up. There is one this summer. We have that month long. So if you're interested, jump into our room, our breakout room. We can give you more information on that as well. And we're going to have some shorter term week-long programs in the fall and spring. So if you're interested, you can scan here to learn more about Essentials. You can pop into our session as well. And we look into that Japan immersion. And if you have questions, this was built on your guys' ideas, your feedback. So if you're like, hey, Marty, we would love this as well, you can email me at any time, hello@positivegloballearning.org, and we'll be there for you. We're creating this with you. It's not for you. It's all created by current Jets, alumni Jets, and your voices of aspiring Jets. So thank you for showing up, sharing your energy, being part of this incredible community. And we are so glad you are here. So if you're interested, we'll see you in the breakout room too. I'll pass it back, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Marty. That was wonderful. And I think now that you have seen, you've heard from our JET alumni and you've heard from Marty, you can very well see the connection with why we invited her.